So I'm going to be talking about the Virgin Suicides, which centers on the 5 Lisbon sisters: Therese, who is 17, Mary, who's 16, Bonnie, who's 15, Lux, who's 14, and Cecilia, who's 13. So the plot goes as follows. It begins with Cecilia's, the youngest, who was 13, her first suicide attempt. She attempts to die by suicide through slitting her wrists. She is sent to the hospital where she heals and is given a psychological evaluation and is sent home. The conservative Lisbon parents allow the girls to have a party as a celebration for Cecilia coming home, as well as a way for the girls to make some more friends. During the party, Cecilia leaves and goes up to her room, and she jumps off the roof, killing herself. After Cecilia's death, the girls grow closer and they begin to hang out 24/7. They show the girls hanging out at school and at home and just essentially spending all time together. Lux begins to get a crush on the guy named Trip, and after a lot of convincing from Trip to Lux's dad, the girls are allowed to go to the homecoming dance. So Lux's friends take each of the Lisbon sisters. At the dance, Lux and Trip leave early and go to the field, and they have sex and they fall asleep on the field. Trip leaves Lux there alone, and then Lux goes home in the morning, far past curfew. And after this misstep by Lux, the girls go into lockdown. They aren't allowed to leave the house, even to go to school. During the lockdown, Lux is forced by her mother to destroy all of her records, which are obviously very important to her. They begin to talk to the neighbor boys across the street through Morse code, and they create a plan to leave with them. The night they plan to execute the plan, the boys come over and Lux opens the door and says, you can come in like 5 minutes, we're gonna just get everything ready and then we can go. Then Lux proceeds to go into the garage, and the boys go inside after the allotted time, and they find the Lisbon girls dead. So as for the mental health portion of this, Cecilia embodies major depressive disorder. She is reserved, she is isolated, and she prefers to be alone. Most of the stereotypes about major depressive disorder, Cecilia exhibits. The psychiatrist gives her a Rorschach test, which causes him to believe that her attempt was a cry for help. This is a damaging sentiment because it completely invalidates the person's experience by removing the severity from the situation. This caused Cecilia's family to believe that she wasn't as bad as they thought, and they loosened up on her restrictions. So as for the sisters, they seem to be coping really well with Cecilia's death. As well as you can. Until they are put on lockdown. The shift in tone matched their grief and their struggles as they were put in isolation. But even as they were in isolation, they were seemingly happy. And that proves that suicide is not a one-size-fits-all thing. They died in different ways. Lux died from carbon monoxide poisoning. Bonnie died via hanging, and Therese died from a combination of sleeping pills and gin. Mary, however, she did not succeed in her first suicide attempt, and so she later committed suicide. And during this time, Mr. Lisbon, during the time after Cecilia's death, Mr. Lisbon withdrawals into a private world and loses touch with reality. And Mrs. Lisbon, you can see the house starts to go into disarray, which is also touches on Mr. Lisbon's withdrawing, and she seems uninterested in anything, including taking care of their daughters. And after the deaths, it shows the community's insensitive responses, which I think is really needed to show how people respond to suicide and how we need to be more accepting so that we can help those who are affected by it. Thank you.